All right, it's 9 o'clock. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody it's on. I'm going to give a few minutes so that way everybody has a chance to come in. I know I start on time, but not everybody is the same. So I know it's early in the Saturday morning, so I just want to make sure everybody get a chance to sign in. Now, if anybody's on right now, I want to make sure that my mics are working. I don't have a moderator today, so it's all me today, so just bear with me. So if you guys can hear me okay, can you just type in the chat box and say that you can hear me all right? So that way I can do all the adjustment I need if I need to. Also, if anybody are viewing, just say hi. That'd be great, that I know you guys are here. Okay, let me see. Who else is here? Let me check something real quick. I don't want to. All right, let's get started. I know everybody's time is valuable. Today is early Saturday morning, so I just want everybody to thank everybody to coming in and joining me this Saturday morning. Again, we're going to go ahead and go with the MLO Crash Course. We're going to continue what we left off. Again, today I don't have a moderator with me, so bear with me, guys. If you guys there's any, good morning, Nancy. Thank you very much. For doing the chat box. So we're going to continue where we left off last week. So here we go. I think I went through credit report agency already. I'm going to go through it again. Consumers should contact their lender if they have any questions about their credit report or application. Again, the credit report agency is not responsible for your loan getting denied or approved. So contact your lender for that. The credit reporting agency is just about your credit and your credit scores. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Nothing. They don't have any information in regards to if your loan is approved or denied. The range of the FICO score is between 300 and 850. I get this all the time. What is your client's credit score? And everybody say they're good. They're good. And I say, what is good, right? So we went through this last week. Some people say 740. Some people say it's 680. We look at, in between 780 and above. And your maximum FICO score is 850. So I get this only once so far. Someone told me, my client FICO score, they told me it was like above 850 to 900, something like that. It only happened once in the 20 years I've been doing this. Unfortunately, sir and ma'am, your FICO score range is between 300 and 850. Anything above 850, I don't know where your score came from. Borrowers are entitled to a free credit report every year. And then also want to make sure that, take advantage of that. Tell your client, check your credit, monitor it. And also, if there is an adverse action taken on your client's mortgage, they have the right to ask for a report within 60 days. So normally what we do is because the client paid for their credit report, we send them, of course, securely through email their credit report, so that way they can access it anytime they like. The national credit score disclosure will be given to each applicant. So make sure that if there's two applicants on the loan, both of them will have the disclosure as well. The FACT Act, Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act, became law in 2003. It is an extension of the 1970 Fair Credit Reporting Act. The increase in identity theft was one of the driving forces behind the new regulation, and consequently, the FACT Act allows every individual to have a free credit report once a year from each of the 3 reporting agencies. So the 3 credit bureaus are TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So I just want to make sure that you guys get that. Here's are the red flags that a lot of people, good morning, Tammy. The red flags. So the red flag rules require financial institution and creditor to develop and implement written identity theft prevention programs. So we all have to have a written prevention program. How does that work? I'm going to go into that a little bit more in details in a little bit later. The red flag provides for the identification, a detection, and response to pattern, practice, or specific activity known as red flag that could indicate identity theft. Under the red flag rule, financial institution and creditor must develop a written program that identifies and detects the relevant warning signs or red flags. The red flag program must also describe appropriate responses that would prevent and mitigate the crime and detail a plan to update the program. The red flag program must be managed by the board of directors or senior employees of the financial institution or creditor and include appropriate staff training and oversight of any service provided. I know that there's a delay, so I'm going to go ahead and wait for a little bit for it to go through first, and then I will continue. If you guys have any questions during this time, please feel free to enter in the chat box so that way I can answer them appropriately. The Homeowner Protection Act requires lender to cancel the PMI when the LTV reaches 78% of the original purchase price. Borrower can request a cancellation when it reaches 80, which is usually be granted if they have a good payment history. Now, so a lot of people say PMI, a lot of people say MI. So I just want to be clear about this. PMI is principal mortgage insurance. MI is just mortgage insurance. So normally what we say is MI. So what happened is that the Homeowner Protection Act, HPA, requires the bank to cancel the MI or the mortgage insurance when it reaches 78% of the original purchase price, meaning the client has 22% equity in the property. So how does that work? So normally what lender does is that if they have a client and they service that client and that client has PMI or MI, the lender need to do what we call it an annual estimate of the property. So what they do is they go through it, they take a look, and they run it, and they see, okay, you know what, if this property in this area now reaches a certain amount, they have to automatically cancel the PMI or MI for that client. Now, normally client will have the right to request a cancellation. So when it reaches 80%, so let's just say the client bought a property for $1 million, and they put down maybe 18%. So within 6 months, all of a sudden they say, hey, the house across from me or next to me sold for a little bit over $1 million. So based on what they borrow, and they felt that the house next door or the house across the street sold for a little bit over $1 million. Now it brings their loan to value LTV down to 80%. What the borrower can do is do a request, written request, send it to the lender, say, hey, you know what, my neighbor just sold their home for X amount. Right now I owe you this amount. I'd like to request a PMI or MI cancellation. So what the lender will do is they will say, okay, either they will request for an appraisal or they do an internal audit or review of the property value. And if they feel that, okay, with your good payment history and the house technically is true that now you have 20% equity, I apologize, then they will definitely send your cancellation request over to the appropriate department, and what they will do is they send you a letter, say, okay, you know what, we agree and we will cancel your MI or PMI. So now you don't have to pay that extra $100 something every month for that mortgage insurance anymore. So that's how it gets canceled. But Homeowner Protection Act requires, so even though let's just say the borrower is too busy, they don't have time to do this, even though the house across the street or neighbor sold and they have about 80% or 20% equity, now the loan to value bring it down to 80%. The lender, if it comes down to 78%, is required by law to remove the PMI or MI for the client. So the client don't have to do nothing, and the lender can say, okay, hey, you know what, because you know, the rise in home value, et cetera, your home now has more than 22% equity, we will remove your MI or PMI, so you don't have to pay that extra every single month. We're going to go to the next one. Finance charge is a fee the buyer would not pay if it were a cash deal. For example, wire transfer and mortgage interest payment contribute to the calculation of APR, while hazard insurance and home inspection do not. So finance charges is only for client who borrow money, who have a loan and buy a property. Now let's just say, you know, it makes sense, right? Finance charges, right? So interest on that. So if you buy all cash, then there's no finance charges involved. According to the Truth in Lending Act, the term refinance applies to the satisfaction of an existing obligation and its replacement by a new obligation. So everybody knows in the mortgage world, when you do a refinance, you know, you pay off the old one and you have a new one, right? So this is just, you know, a verbatim or a language where, you know, they make it more quote unquote, you know, correct. So that way it makes sense. In Truth in Lending Act, the term refinance applies to the satisfaction of an existing obligation, meaning your current loan, and it's replaced by a new obligation, which is your new lender or your new loan. So your new loan will pay off the old one. So that's how we do a refinance, okay? ECOA notification of adverse action must be in writing. A telephone call is not sufficient. No. So I want to ask this to all my viewers. What does ECOA stand for? Anybody knows? Go ahead and do that in the chat box. Man, don't tell me nobody knows. So anybody know what ECOA stand for? Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Okay, guys, this is on the exam, so make sure you guys know that. So going back, ECOA, Equal Credit Opportunity Act, requires, so if you apply for a loan, if a client applies for a loan, it's required that if your loan is being denied, we must give you an adverse action. Thank you, Tammy. Equal Credit Opportunity Act. I know there's a delay. So Equal Credit Opportunity Act, basically we must give you a written form stating the reason why we denied your loan. We can't just call you up and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, I apologize, but your loan is not approved. That's it. No, we must give you in writing, either through emails or send you a letter in the mail. Loss mitigation options include refinancing, loan modification, short sale, and deed in lieu. So this happens back, you know, in 2010, 8, 9. A lot of people lost their homes, et cetera, and et cetera. You know, so a lot of people do either loan modification, short sale, or deed in lieu. So loan modification, this is where the a lot of people get either you know, I guess you can say fraud happened to them, and it's unfortunate for them. So I can go in more details when we go into further into the lesson. I will tell you more how fraud happened for people who was in loan modification and et cetera and et cetera. If the servicer receives the mitigation application 37 days before a foreclosure sale, the borrower's situation must be evaluated for all applicable options within 30 days. The borrower may appeal a decision if the complete application package was submitted at least 90 days before a scheduled sale. If foreclosure sales is delayed until a loan modification is denied, appealed, or canceled due to non-performance. So there's a lot of words. Basically, it's telling you before a property is sold, right, on the court step, that's why it's scheduled sales, within 90 days before that happens, the client does have a right to appeal that, okay? So remember that, just because somebody is in foreclosure or they got NOD, notice of default, it doesn't mean it's over. The client or the borrower still has time to say, hey, look, I want to, talk to somebody. I want to try to save my property. I try to do this and do that. You still have time, but don't wait. The reason for that is this. The banks, because if, back in 2010, 9, 11, a lot of people were in that situation. So what happened was, realtors or other loan servicer, mortgage brokers, they say, hey, just wait. And then, the longer you wait, the better. Technically, that's not really true. The sooner you reach out to the lender, the sooner you get a person who take care of your case, assigned to your case, the better. The reason for that is you have one central point of contact. Now, I know we work with a lot of, loan modification or short sale where, the bank has so many, foreclosure coming in that they bombarded with, files that they don't have enough people. So, one person take care of so many files and then all of a sudden things get lost. We went through that. It's unfortunate, but that's what happened. But again, that doesn't, that doesn't mean that we should wait for contact somebody at the bank, talk to somebody, get their name down. And this is something that I always tell my client to do. Whoever you spoke to, even loan officer, if you're helping your client, remember, we're helping them. We're not going to get paid for this, but we're helping them. So back then there was a fraud where loan officers or mortgage broker were helping client with loan modification and charging them upfront fees and all this stuff, and which is illegal to do so, and that's why a lot of mortgage broker closed down as well, because they get fined by the government and stuff like that. So we cannot charge a fee for anything until the process is completed. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Attorneys can. We can't. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But the client needs to reach out to the bank, talk to somebody, work it out with a loan repayment, do something. They love to help, but again, back then they have so many files that the service that they wanted, but now because of new laws and regulation, I'm sure the banks are reaching out to help more people now than before. Okay. High-cost home loans have the following restriction. Most balloon mortgages are prohibited. Balloon payment meaning, let's just say you have a 1-year balloon, meaning that the first year you make scheduled payment every single month, and then at the end, at the 12 months, after you make that 12 month, the 13th month will be the full payment of that mortgage. So that's the balloon payment to ATRs, so ability to repay. So ATR, which is the short for ability to repay, and the borrower must speak to a HUD-approved housing counselor. Lender's additional requirement. Additional appraisal may be required if a prospect purchase is a flip home with a higher price mortgage loan. Flips are defined as resale within 90 days with seller paying a minimum 10% price increase, or resale within the past 91 to 180 days with seller paying a minimum 20% price increase. So I know this happened a lot in 2011, 12, 13, 14, maybe 18, actually 17, 18. A lot of people do flip homes. So, we did this a lot as well. So we run across a lot of appraisal issues where, we buy for dirt cheap for, let's say, $300,000 on a court step. We did, some rehab. We turn it around, sell it for 500, a little bit higher than that. So, or 400 something thousand, which is more. Again, some lender requires additional on appraisal because of that, because, we bought it for a certain amount of price. We document that, we did the rehab. Here's the cost of the rehab. Here's the new appraised price. Sometimes even though the purchase is $500,000, $600,000, they still require a second appraisal. So we had that issue back then. Now, we don't have that much of an issue anymore. Lender must require a property tax and hazard insurance escrow account to be maintained for a minimum of 5 years. So this is on the test, guys. If you have an escrow account, okay, it must stay on 5 years, okay, on a high-price home loan. The account can be canceled after 5 years if the LTV is 80% or less and the borrower is current on the mortgage payment. So if your client requires to have an escrow account or impound account for property tax and insurance, that account must stay on for 5 years, minimum of 5 years. And the only way for that to be canceled is your LTV, which is your loan to value, is 80% or less, or in other words, you have more than 20% equity on the property, and the client has to be current. Okay. 2010 Dodd-Frank Reform and Consumer Act requires more regulation oversight of lenders and non-health insurance company in order to implement the new legislation. The Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, CFPB, the Financial Stability Oversight Council, the Orderly Liquidation Authority, and the Federal Insurance Office were created. Lender must require proof of a borrower's ability to repay a mortgage loan. So lender has the burden to prove that the borrowers have the ability to repay, ATR. So keep this in mind. ATR is very important in the lending industry. As mortgage brokers, we must make sure that the client have the ability to repay. So when we take the loan in, we have to kind of check them, make sure that they have enough income versus their debt, make sure it looks good, and then, submit the loan. Now, if we look at the documentation and the client does not qualify, then we can ask for additional proof or additional requirements to see if, or co-signer, et cetera, to make sure that, we fit the client, the lender's, ability to repay. So that way, we can continue to get the loan approved and move forward. A qualified mortgage is one that follows stated guidelines intended to reduce a lender's potential liability. That's what it is. Qualified mortgage is basically making sure that the client or the lender has less liability because the client has the ability to repay that mortgage. So that's important, okay? These loans have no balloons or interest-only mortgage. So there's no balloons, so it's either a 30-year fix or, there's no mortgage, no interest-only mortgage. So it's always, more interest and principal reduction. So it's never just interest-only. Positive amortization, a maximum of 30 years. So there are 40 years mortgage, maximum 3% points in fees, and a maximum of 43% DTI ratio. So make sure that we keep that in mind, the maximum ratio on this. Okay, FHA, VA, and USDA loans do not have to conform to this ratio until 2021, which is next year. Again, keep this in mind, guys. Rules changes all the time, so we will definitely try to get you the most updated information as possible. Okay, Mortgage Assistant Relief Service, MARS rules apply to negotiator, assisting borrower with mortgage loan modification, they aren't allowed to collect upfront fees, and the borrower may cancel the agreement with the negotiator at any time without penalty. So keep in mind, we cannot collect upfront fees or anything like that. The only person that can do that is attorneys. If your client say, hey, I went to so-and-so and they say that they will charge me, X amount of dollars before they start this, or if I cancel, I have to pay this fee. Remember, the only person that can, now this is relating to mortgage, okay, relating to mortgage modification, etc., etc. We cannot collect any fees unless the process is completed, okay? Nobody can collect them except attorneys. So just keep that in mind. Only attorneys can do that, and we are not. Any questions you guys have, please let me know. Okay, there you go. All right, I just want to make sure I have my chat box going. All right, the Bank Secrecy Act and anti-money laundering law require companies to file a currency transaction report, CTR, with the IRS for cash purchase exceeding $10,000 in 1 day. So keep this in mind, guys. A lot of people, they think they're smarter than others. Say, hey, you know what? I'll put in $8,000 today, $8,000 tomorrow, and $8,000 the next day because it's under $10,000 in a day, which is true. So let's just say if you come to me, I'm the bank. Let's say I'm, JP Morgan Chase or Bank of America. It doesn't matter which bank. I'm naming the big bank, Wells Fargo, etc. You come in, and I see you come in. You deposit $8,000 cash, okay? And then tomorrow I see you again, and then you deposit $8,000 cash. And then the next day you come in again, and then you deposit $8,000 cash, right? So technically, we do not complete a CTR for that day. But because we see you guys been doing that consistently for the next couple of days, what we have to do is we have to file a suspicious activity report, a SARS, and then we have to send it in because we think that something is going on, even though you did under $10,000 in every single day. It also requires individuals transporting more than $10,000 in cash in or out to the country must file a report with the U.S. government. So this is only in and out of the country. Remember, if you leave the country, they have this form that you have to fill out on a plane, and how much cash you brought into the country or out of the country. If you do that more than $10,000, make sure that you report it. So just keep that in mind, guys. Real estate transfer tax, loan origination fee, and interest rate have zero variance. They must be identical on the GFE and HUD and between the loan estimate and closing disclosure. So, real estate transfer. Remember the transfer tax and the origination fee, which is our fees, right? And the interest rate has zero variance. So zero variance, guys. So zero. So they cannot say, I made a mistake. I meant to charge you, let's say my loan origination fee, right? So let's say if I want to charge you a 1% origination fee, you know what? Because your loan is so low right now, I forgot it's a 1.5. Well, can't do it, guys. It's called zero variance. You cannot change it. Once you disclose what you charge, that's what you charge. You cannot change those. So real estate transfer tax, loan origination fees, interest rate, we cannot change it once we have disclosed. Once interest rate, once they lock it, there's a zero variance. Okay, guys. So let's just say the client lock it at 2%, and then all of a sudden, the loan officer did not lock it, and then the next day, they lock it at 2.125 or 2.25 because the rate went up, etc. Nope, you can't do those things. It's 2%, zero variance. They must be identical on it on the GFE and the HUD. Once you disclose, that's what it is. The appraisal and the credit fees have zero variance between that as well, but it can have a 10% variance between the GFE and HUD. The reason for that is because of this. Let's say, we don't know what the appraisal cost is, right? Because technically we don't have control anymore. We have to request an appraisal through the lender. So what we disclose to the client, so normally what we do here at Directqm, we put in $650, $750, whatever it might be. It's an estimate. So client comes in, man, that's a lot of money. The appraisal cost is too high, et cetera, and et cetera. And I say, ma'am, sir, The reason why we put that is because we do not know exactly what the appraisal cost is at this moment. We have to disclose to you what we think is charges, but once we know from the appraisal company, they say, okay, you know what, majority of the time it's $465. Okay, then now you pay $465. You don't pay $750, $850, $900, $1,000, even though we put it on there. You paid the actual. Now, let's flip this around. I say, you know what, your appraisal fee is $350, and then the appraisal actual is $450. Guess what happens, right? The $100, that's a variance, and you know it's more than the 10% rule. You know what? Guess what? Someone has to eat that $100. The client's not going to do that. The client's not going to pay that. The client say, hey, you disclose $350, I'm going to pay $350. The appraisal come in at $450. Guess what? Someone has to eat that $100, and the client's not going to be happy about it. And also, it's more than the 10% variance that allow. So you can only collect up to like $35 more, which is $350 for the disclosed. 10% of $350 is $35. The rest, $65 extra, which is to make up the difference. Someone has to eat that, okay, guys? So that's the reason why we do a disclosure of higher fees, so that way when the actual comes down, it's okay. Okay, it always looks better when you have, when you give a higher estimate, but when they pay less, they're much happier. Okay. Fees that the lender chooses or identify, especially government fees, title fees, or recommended by lender, can't vary between that and between the LE and the closing disclosure by more than 10%. Same thing, it cannot be more than 10%. Fees for services that the owner chooses for themselves, like hazard insurance, right? Title or escrow company, stuff like that. And fees that are paid per diem interest have no limit on the variance, okay? So what does that mean? So the client say, hey, I want to go to ABC insurance company to buy my home insurance. Okay, you can go there. We didn't choose that for them, they did. So when they choose their own insurance company, we can say, hey, you know what, we estimate your home insurance to be $600, and the client say, I'll go ABC insurance company, and the ABC insurance company quoted them $1,000. Well, there's no limit because they chose. So when they choose, there's no variance, right? So even though we disclose, $500, $600, but the actual comes out, $1,000, they still pay that $1,000, and we don't have the problem with variance. Okay, guys? Any questions so far? Please feel free to input that in the chat box. Anybody that's on right now, I see about 6 people on there. Can you guys put a Y, type in a Y in the chat box just so I can acknowledge everybody here? I think we're about 35 minutes into it already, so I just want to acknowledge who's here because I can't see who's who. So I'm going to continue. Okay, hi, Chitami, thank you. The lender has 30 days. Hey, Randy, thank you for joining us. The lender has 30 days after the closing for reverse mortgages to refund. Anthony, thank you. The lender has 30 days after the closing for reverse mortgage to refund to the borrower any portion of the charges that exceed the acceptable amounts of variance. The refund deadline is 60 days for a TRIC compliant loan. So, for instance, Janesi, thank you. So, for instance, let's just say, there's a variance, right, of, let's say, 8%, etc. But we close the loan anyways. So, for instance, the client comes in, 8% more than what the estimate is. The lender collects that, right? Well, what happened is that the lender needs to refund that money back to the client, okay? So they can't keep it because, again, the actual is less. So they have to refund it. So how much days do they have? Well, the lender has 30 business days, which is, maybe close to, 38 days, or 22 days plus, it's a little bit over a month because Saturday and Sunday don't count, to refund the money back to the client. For TRID, they have 60, okay? Forced place insurance occur if the lender chooses the hazard insurance company when the borrower allows his policy to lapse. So this is very, very important, guys. I want you guys to keep this in mind. I see this a lot. Client come to me, say, hey, they buy insurance from me and I don't know what happened. Well, the only time when the lender buys an insurance policy for you is when you, as a borrower, allow your current policy to lapse. Okay, so a lot of people say, well, I'm changing insurance, etc., and etc. The only reason why the lender doesn't know that you have an insurance policy is because the insurance company never submitted the policy to the lender. Okay, remember this. So, for instance, let's use DMV for instance. DMV is your lender. Okay, so how does the DMV knows that your car has insurance or not? So all the insurance company send the DMV say, hey, this VIN number, this license plate, this car has insurance coverage, right? For 1 year, for instance. But then let's just say they decide to cancel 3 months later to buy a different policy. And then the new person, the new company never sent that to the DMV. So the DMV only knows that you got canceled because the old company will say, hey, this guy canceled with us, so they're no longer covered. So a lot of people say, I never got registration renewal, so I never paid it, so blah, blah, blah. Well, technically, the reason why is because you never have insurance, so therefore you don't get, renewal. Same thing with the lender. Lender say, okay, you know what? Because you borrow money from us, and we need to protect our investment, just in case your house burned down, etc., or have some liens or etc., we need to have insurance. But because you allow your current policy to lapse, we're going to buy that for you. We're going to buy that insurance for you. So guess what? They're going to send you that bill. Here's the good thing about California, guys. For instance, right, this happens a lot. I have an insurance, a home insurance with Nancy. Nancy is an insurance agent. That's a plug for Nancy. So she has an insurance company. She does home insurance, etc., etc. So I go with Nancy. So she give me a policy, okay? And then let's say 3 months later, I say, Nancy, I found another policy is cheaper. I'm going to cancel. So what she does, she cancel, right? So she doesn't have to send anything to the lender, right? So all she does is cancel it, right? And the company, whoever she brokered for, probably send it to the lender and say, hey, look, we no longer cover you guys, this client and this house, okay? Well, the lender is going to say, okay, we got that notice from the insurance company. Guess what we're going to do? Because we never received a new insurance policy, we're going to make you buy it. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to say, they're going to send you a bill from ABC company. It doesn't matter who, okay? For $1,200. And then you, as the borrower, say, hey, why my insurance bill is $1,200? Well, guess what? Your insurance company that you bought never sent it to the new lender, your policy. Therefore, the lender must buy an insurance policy to cover their investment. So that's what they call a forced place insurance. Okay. Higher price loans are one in which APR exceed the average prime rate by at least 1.5 for lien 1. That's easy. TIL, truth in lending disclosure, includes APR, finance charges, amount financed, and total amount of payment. So this is what happened. A lot of people call me, hey, Michael, I want to borrow a $300,000 loan at, let's say, 2% interest rate, 30 years. How much interest do I pay total, right? Or what is my APR, or what is my finance charges, and how much is my total payment at the end of 30 years. So keep in mind, anybody who attend my training, you guys know that I make you guys, or I recommend you guys to download the calculator, right? So if you guys don't have that, please put in the chat box, and I will let you guys know what that is. If you guys already have that in your phone, which is great, plug that in, click the amortization button. It'll tell you exactly how much interest they're going to pay over 30 years, how much total payment that will be, total, at the end of 30 years. So, and then not only that, you have an amortization schedule from, payment number 1 all the way to 359 or 360. You can email that to them. So you don't have to, go through phone or do screenshots or anything like that. The app is great. It's both on iOS and Android, so you can always download that from the store, and it's free. And you have issues with that, please let me know. In October 2015, the TILA-RESPA integrated disclosure rule went into effect, and the modified disclosure requirement for most closed-end loans, but not for reverse mortgages. So reverse mortgages, you still got your truth in lending GFEs. TRIT LE combines the TILA disclosure and the GFE. So the LE combines both. This is on the exam, guys. LE combines the truth in lending disclosure and the good faith estimate. Okay, just remember that LE combined TILA and GFE. The trio disclosing disclosure combined the final and the HUD. LE. The LE must be delivered or mailed no later than 3 business days after the loan application is submitted. So remember what the LE replaces? So okay, in the app. Okay, so let me pull up the app right now, guys. We have one person saying what is the app name. I go into, if you go into your app store, look up FN calculator. Okay, so FN calculator or EZ calculator is an icon. I'm gonna show you if I see if you guys can see this icon. See that icon right there? Right there. It's like a calculator with some coins. It's blue. Use that. So that's the icon you want to download. Okay. Question in the chat box: is anyone here getting their license or scheduled for an exam? Nobody yet? Okay. So I hope that, after this, whoever is scheduled, remember, I just want to remind everybody, you can take your MLO exam even before you completed the education part, okay, guys? But you can't be certified until your education is completed. But the hard part is the exam. The education part is easy. It's just time consuming. But the exam is the hardest part, okay? And you need 75% to pass. I think there's 125. One of the candidates is planning on retaking his exam. That's good. So keep this in mind. You need 75% to pass. I think there's 125 questions on there. 10 of the question does not count, but is random. So it's not like, the first 10 don't count or the last 10 don't count. It's random within the exam. You don't know which one it is. It's good and bad, of course. The reason why the 10 exam questions that don't count is to gauge if the exam is hard or easy, so they can adjust the questions. Okay, guys? All right. So the loan estimate must be delivered to the client no later than 3 business days after the loan application is submitted to us. The LE must be delivered or mailed no later than 7 days prior to loan consummation, meaning when it's closed. This can be waived if the borrower has an emergency, such as impending foreclosure auction. Creditor may not revise an LE because of technical issue, incorrect calculation, or low estimate. Remember, once the LE goes out, we can't change those things, right? Just because we did something wrong, okay? That's the reason why for us here, a lot of client or a lot of loan officers say, hey, Michael, how come, you guys didn't submit the LE out, or et cetera, et cetera. So the reason why is because we have 3 days. So what we do, how we do it is this. We don't estimate what the escrow charges are. Once we get a loan application come in, we submit immediately to our escrow title officer, say, hey, look, guys, I have a mortgage here, a refinance, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the loan amount. I need you guys to send me the fees right away. So on a purchase, the same way. We send the request through the escrow officer or title officer, and then it's up to them how fast they could get it back to us. So once they send it back to us, we input all their fees into our fee sheet, so that way we can disclose to the client. So the sooner they give it to us, the sooner we give to the client. Now, sometimes it's more than 3 days. Technically, we're not supposed to do that. But again, we're going to go through what constitute a loan application, okay? So sometimes the client missed this, missed that. So, we still not consider that's a loan application until we have all those items. Lender must ensure that the revised LE is received at least 4 business days prior to consummation. So we got that. Okay, borrower must receive the CD at least 3 days, business days before consummation. This is different from the HUD-1 requirement. Remember, the CD must be sent out to the client 3 days before the loan closes or consummation. Changes in APR loan product or the addition of a prepaid penalty trigger a revised CD. So if there's a change in the APR by more than 1/8 percentage point, we must send out a new CD. And then every time we send it out, guess what? There's an additional 3 business days waiting period. Again, it goes back to the first one, right? We have to send out 3 days before closing. But if there's a revised CD going out, closing disclosure, we have to wait an additional 3 days. So keep that in mind, guys. Lender or closing agent prepare the CD. So we don't prepare the CDs, the lender does and the closing agent does, right? The closing agent is escrow officer or title officer or attorney, for instance, in Texas. If changes to a seller or buyer payment occurs after closing, the lender has 30 days to send a revised CD. So after if changes to a seller or buyer payment occurs after. So when that happened, they have 30 days to send out the revised CD after the close. But technically, we want to get that done before that happens. Okay, guys? So we're about 45 minutes into the class. I'm going to finish it in about an hour for today. I think that, because of the way we do it, I don't want to, get this too long. So we want to just keep that, as short as possible. Non-numeric clerical error and tolerance violation trigger a new CD that must be delivered within 60 days following loan consummation, meaning after close. Likewise, CD tolerance refund must be also sent within 60 days. When a consumer requests the cancellation of their escrow account, the lender must deliver an escrow closing notice no later than 3 business days before closure. So this is important. So escrow account. We mentioned this. Escrow account is the same as impound account. So if a consumer requests a cancellation and if the requirements are met, meaning what? 78% automatic cancellation, 80% LTV if the consumer can send proof that the property is they have 20% equity, they can request for cancellation. But here's the thing. Once the lender received it, after they did all their initial investigation and audit it and things like that, and they say yes, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, we agree with you. Now you have 20% equity. We will cancel your escrow/impound account. Guess what happened? They need to send you a letter. They can't just make you a phone call and say, okay, we'll do it. No, they're going to send you a letter saying that, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, we agree with you. Your escrow/impound account will be canceled. Now, they have to do that 3 business days before they say it's closed. Okay, they can't just say, okay, I'm closing today and that's it. No, they have to give you 3 days beforehand. Okay, now, automatic cancellation on escrow/impound account. I want to shoot this out there. How many percent equity the client must have before the lender automatically cancel their escrow/impound account? Put your answer in the chat box, guys. Tammy, 78%. Anybody else? That is correct, guys. 78% is when the lender must automatically cancel your escrow/impound account for the client. Okay? Perfect. If the escrow account is closed for some other reason except for default or termination caused by refinance, repayment, or recession, the notice must be sent 30 days prior to closure, which is normal. Lender must retain the CD and related. This is on the test, guys. This is on the exam. Lender must retain the CD and related documents for 5 years. The LE for 3 years. The escrow cancellation notice and partial payment policy for 2 years. So keep this in mind. This is on the exam, guys. The USA Patriot Act requires mortgage applicant to provide their name, address, Social Security number, or employee ID number, and a government issue photo ID, which means either your driver license or your green card or your passport, etc. Okay? Requires financial institute to verify the ID of account holder, compare the account names to names in the federal database of fugitive and suspect terrorists, establish an anti-money laundering policy, and train employee of the policy. So this is what we do. If a client comes into us, we have an anti-money laundering policy that we run it through. There's a website, a federal database. We put their name in, and they'll tell us, okay, yes, no, this person is on the terrorist list or fugitive, or this person is doing money laundering, etc., and etc. This happens to a lot of people overseas, so we put this through. Regardless if they're overseas or not, we have to enter their name into the database to see if their name pops up or not. Okay. It is illegal to misrepresent any loan terms or condition in an advertisement. Copies of commercial communication. This is on the exam, and supporting document must be kept for 2 years. So keep this in mind, guys. This is on the exam. Commercial communication must be kept for 2 years. E-Sign Act allows electronic signature to be valid whenever a regulation requires a document to be written, as long as the consumer has consent to its use. So keep this in mind. E-Sign, yes, right now because of technology, they're allowing that to happen. Before, it has to be wet sign. But some lenders still require wet signature for certain items. Your 4506T. Anybody know what the 4506T is? I'm going to throw this out on the, anybody knows, put it on the chat box, guys. 4506T. Come on, guys. Nobody? 4506T is a IRS form, IRS forms 4506-T is basically a form that, a tax request. Okay, we got one person in tax request. Okay. So on a 4506T is basically, it's a tax request form that the client sign, and most lenders require the client to hand sign that document. So we can't e-sign it. So they have to sign it, and then we have to scan it and send it to the lender. So they can request either, a W-2s for past, W-2s, or like, 2018, 2019, your tax transcript, 2018, 2019, to see if there's any variation between what you say on the loan application versus what you file with the IRS. Tax request for tax return from IRS. Thank you, Tammy. So you guys are right about that. Okay, fair housing prohibit HIV/AIDS discrimination as part of the disability protected class. So I think this is on exam. I think it is. Whoever took the exam, see if you remember if this is on the exam. I remember that there is a question regarding HIV and AIDS discrimination. So keep that in mind. The Fair Housing Act prohibits HIV and AIDS discrimination. High-cost home loans require the borrower to obtain housing counseling. So this is very true. Any high-cost home loans require the borrower to obtain housing counseling to make sure that they understand that there's a high likeliness of default. Therefore, the housing counseling is required, and the borrower can get a whole list of all these agencies that they can go through and just let them know If there are any issues when they face this, they can always contact these agencies to get help or options for their cases. Okay. HUD oversees the FHA agency, Federal Housing Administration Agency. HUD oversees that, so that's on the exam, I think, as well. Loan originator should enter zip code on the GFE, LE if unknown property address, as may be the case when requesting lender pre-approval. So, I get this a lot. People say, hey guys, can I get a loan of pre-approval for, I don't know, I'm shopping right now. I don't know which area to buy yet. So what we do is we always have to enter a zip code, right? The reason for that is it's kind of like to know, okay, this is where you might be buying in the area, okay? Is it necessary meaning, oh, I cannot buy in other areas? No. We just have to put it in so that way it's for data collecting to say, hey, look, this is what we're doing for, X zip code versus Y zip code. And then when you, find the property that you're looking for, then the address and the zip code will be updated, okay? If there are multiple co-signers, the ECOA, adverse action notice, need to be sent only to the primary borrower. So can anybody explain this to me, what this means? Chat box, please. I'll wait for a few. I know there's. And then I think we're going to end this slide, and then we're going to pick up next week. Oh, by the way, while you guys are typing your answers, we're going to have another session on Tuesday, which is going to be maybe 30 minutes. Thursday, it's going to be 30 minutes. We're changing it up now. So next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So I know that there's going to be a lot of people be on Thanksgiving, etc. and etc. You let me know if next Thursday, and normally what we're going to do is Tuesday, Thursday at 12. So I know it's Thanksgiving. It's up to you. To me, I work 365, so there's no days off for me. Either I do this on Thursday, not, then I still do something else. I'll be on the office anyways. So keep in mind, I'm going to do Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So every week now, there's going to be 3 days. Tuesday, Thursday at 12 noon for 30 minutes, and then Saturday at 9 a.m. Okay, so that's what we're going to, our session is going to be Tuesday, Thursday at 12 for each day for 30 minutes, and then Saturday, 9 a.m. for an hour. Okay. So, okay, Chitami. When the lender send the mail to explain why they denied the loan, so good enough to be sent only to the primary borrower. Perfect. So because you have the primary borrower, and keep in mind there's a multiple co-signer. So anybody know what co-signer means? Can you explain that to me in the chat box? And then another question is it a good idea to be a co-signer for somebody? So you have two questions. First one is, what is a co-signer? And is it a good idea to be a co-signer? Tammy say it's a co-borrower. Yes, that is true. But I need something more. What is a co-signer? Co-signer helps or hurts when applying for credit. Okay, Anthony said co-signer helps or hurts when applying for credit. That's correct. Anything else? I'm looking for a more specific, what is a co-signer? I'm going to go ahead and answer this for you guys. Basically, a co-signer is a person. Co-signer is obligated to the debt as well. Okay, that's what Tammy said. Tammy said no good. Co-signer is liable for the loan liability, which is true. So you guys got great. I mean, you guys are doing great. You guys answer them right. What I'm looking for is this. A co-signer, majority of the time, is a person who may or may not have interest in the property. Okay? So a co-signer may or may not have interest in the property. So the reason for a cosigner, and the majority of the time, cosigner do not have interest in the client's primary client. I mean, I say client meaning primary borrower. So the cosigner does not, majority of the time, does not have interest in the property that the primary borrower is buying or securing, and that's why they call it a cosigner. Okay, and what they do is they co-signing for the debt as well, just like some of our candidates saying here, or our agents saying like they are also co-signing for the debt and liability as well. So the second question is it a good idea? No. So it's never a good idea to be a cosigner. The reason for that is whatever happened to that debt that you cosign will reflect on your credit report as well. So if the primary borrower forgot a payment, guess what? You got hit with that payment as well, with that missing payment. Okay. So as a cosigner, the reason why Equal Credit Opportunity Act for an adverse action notice is only to the primary is that because the primary is the person that should tell everybody, hey, look, we got our loan denied, so we're not going to go forward with this anymore. Thank you for helping me, or thank you for trying to be a cosigner for me, but apparently, either we have too much debt, our income doesn't cover, etc., etc. So the primary person already know that the loan is being denied or not going through, so he or she will let the cosigner know. Remember, the cosigner really doesn't have an interest in that client's case or borrower, primary borrower. Now, if that cosigner, quote unquote, has an interest in that property, we would not call it a cosigner. We call it a co-borrower. Okay, guys. So there's two, words for that: a cosigner versus a co-borrower. So keep that in mind. Okay. Good job, guys. The loan originator must guess the ethnicity, race, and sex of an applicant. If they decline to provide that information, the monitoring section of the 1003 cannot be left blank. So if a client, we get it over the phone, yes, sometimes, Nancy, I don't know if she's still on here, but Nancy knows who we talk about. So she spoke to somebody on the phone once, and she said that, I think she's a female. Well, technically, he was a male. So, but again, how does she know? She can't. She only can guess, is it a male or female, right? So guess what? She's going to put down on an application, because based on, what she thinks the voice dictates is that it's a female, she's going to put down a female. She's going to fill in everything else, and then ethnicity and race, she's going to do the same thing because she couldn't see them, right? But of course she can say, okay, well, his name or her name, well, in this case, she thinks it's a female, so therefore her name, last name is X, so therefore the ethnicity is this and race, so she's going to put that down. Guess what? Once she finished everything, she put it in, she sent it off, and the applications go back to the client. The client's going to review the application. Remember, the client must sign the application, and at the end of the page on the 1003, the monitoring section, above that, when they sign it, they're going to look at it and say, hey, my ethnicity is wrong, my race is wrong, or my sex is wrong, right? I'm not male, I'm not a female. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to call Nancy and say, hey, Nancy, I think you made the mistake that you marked me as a female, but technically I'm a male. So what Nancy does is, oh, I'm sorry, I'll update that information now. So she'll update it as a male, she'll resend it back out and have the client sign. Okay, so that's what we would have to do. ECOA requires an application must be retained for 25 months from the date a loan acceptance or denial notification is sent to the application. This is on the exam, guys, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end it here. We're about 5 minutes over the hour. I don't want to move forward. I don't want to go more. Please let me know, guys, in the chat box. Tuesday, Thursday, next week at 12. Is that what you guys okay with? If not, please let me know. On Thursday, I know it's Thanksgiving. I'm going to be here at my office. We'll do this as well. Let me know. But I also, at the same time, the YouTube thing, you guys can always go back and play it and things like that. So let me know in the chat box. Tuesday, Thursday at 12. every single week. From now on, moving forward, Tuesday, Thursday at 12, Saturday at 9. So Tuesday, Thursday, 30 minutes, Saturday, 1 hour, if that's okay with everybody. All right, so somebody say Tuesday is okay, Thursday we don't know, Saturday is okay, perfect. Another agent say yes, it's okay. Okay, so let's do it this way. I'm gonna send emails out so that way you guys can reply to me. You know, if I'm good with Tuesday, Thursday. Okay, another agent says Tuesday's good. So I'm gonna send an email out to everybody Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, moving forward. You know, if you guys can't make it on Thursday, you guys can always go back and replay it. Make sure that, you know, let everybody know that, you know, this is not just for agent of ours. Anybody are welcome to attend this. You know, you can share the link with your friends, you know, so they can attend as well. You know, ask questions, etc. We like to have engagement, so whatever, you know, whichever office they're from, you know, if they're interested in it, please let me know. Also, real estate questions. Okay, this is what I didn't do last time. Any real estate question you guys may have. I know this is off topic. I want to go ahead and use 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes, guys. Any real estate question out there, guys? Okay, so most of the agents here knows me. I'm gonna go ahead and do this on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish our lesson, and then I'm gonna reserve about 5-10 minutes at the end to do real estate related. So that way, you know, I can help you guys if you guys have any issues or concerns about real estate or some more insight about it. I've been doing this for about 20 plus years now, so I think I have some qualification as far as real estate and mortgage is concerned. So please let me know. Okay, an agent asks, as is offered, can a buyer still ask for termite section 1 fixed? Yes. So the question here is very simple. Okay, so Tammy say that if you send an offer in as an as is offer, okay, can we, as an agent, continue to ask for a termite section 1 item to be fixed? The answer is no. The reason for that is this: once you submit an offer, and this is why I never, you know, my agents out there, whoever is my agent out there right now knows this, and I'm going to continue to say this again. I never ever recommend my agent to write an offer that does not have contingency. Okay? So this is what I do. I never ask for that. Why? The reason for that is this. I always write an offer very simple. So let's just say Tammy's saying the request for termite section 1 must be sent to listing agent before removal, contingency removal. Yes and no. When I receive an as-is offer, I'm not going to ask for you guys to pay for section 1 if I'm the listing agent. Now, do you have the right to request the section 1 item to be fixed? Yes, you can have the right to do so. Okay. Now it all depends. I can't see how your offer is. So if you want, Tammy, send me the whole offer. Let me look at them, what kind of form you guys use, etc., etc. And the reason for that is because without knowing the forms, I can't tell you yes or no. Okay. So send me the full offer that you sent to the listing agent. I can review it for you. I'll let you know. But rule of thumb, never, ever write an offer with no contingency. Okay? I know it's competitive out there, but you can still write a very solid offer with contingency, right? And here's how you do it. So I'm going to use Tammy's offer as an example. She wrote an as-is offer, but she wants section 1 item to be fixed. Okay, and it seems like the section 1 item is very large, meaning, you know, a lot of money to get it fixed. So this is what I do with my client. I take my client to the property. I preview the property, I look at the reports, let's just say the client, the agent, the listing agent don't have any reports. Okay, let's just say that. Perfect. So my client really liked the property. They want to put an offer because it's very competitive, and they have to, they're going to lose the property even if there's no inspection. I say, okay, that's fine. I say, look, this is what I'm going to do. I write up an offer, with a contingency, right? And then I say, oh, no, I don't want contingency. I don't want contingency. I say, okay, well, if you don't want contingency, what if the Section 1 item comes back that's like $20,000? Are you willing to pay $20,000 to get Section 1 item fixed? The client say, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I say, okay, well, there you go. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write an as-is offer, meaning I will buy the property, meaning not me, but my client. My client's going to buy that property as-is condition, given the fact that I will do a termite inspection, and if the termite inspection Section 1 item comes in less than $5,000, we will continue to buy this property as is. Okay? And my client say, okay, before I write the $5,000, I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, if we did a termite inspection and the inspection comes back $4,000, will you be okay to pay out $4,000 to get Section 1 item to be fixed? They say, yeah, I have no problem with that because I'm priced that in my offer, right? Perfect. Is $5,000 okay? He said, yes. Okay. And that's what, is $6,000 okay? They say, no. I say, okay, then let's do a $5,000 cap. That's how you write it, right? So guess what the listing agents look at it? So, oh, you're putting a $5,000 cap on the Section 1 item. You didn't say nothing about Section 2 item. You don't say nothing about anything else. So guess what the listing agent can do? So I can call the listing agent and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Listing Agent, we like your property. We'd like to put an offer together, but here's the concern that we have. The Section 1 item, we don't have any reports. We're going to do the reports, but we don't know what's going to come in. But we're going to cap it at $5,000, right? Which, with your property, I think it's not going to be an issue. But again, we're not an expert. Leave it up to the inspection people. Is that okay with you guys? Right? So guess what the listing agent is going to do? The listing agent is going to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to talk to the seller. The seller say, yeah, I've been upkeeping the property. I don't see there's more than $5,000 issues. That's fine. Not a problem. Right? So keep this in mind, guys. Is that an as-is offer still, do you think? I still think so because Section 1 item. What's the biggest thing on Section 1 item, guys? Agents who've been doing this a long time. What is the biggest item on Section 1 item majority of the time, right? I like to say 80% of the time. What is it? Chat box, come on. Nobody answer. Okay, so let's do it this way. The biggest item on a termite inspection report, right? I like to say 80% of the time is fumigation. How much is fumigation? I depend on the house, right? I know, if your house is 10,000 square feet, of course it's going to be a lot of money, et cetera, et cetera. Let's take the average, guys. Average, we're talking about maybe what, 1,800 square feet, 2,000 square feet and below, fumigation. It's about $2,500, right? I don't think more than that. So fumigation is the biggest item on a termite inspection majority of the time, right? Of course, if you have like a big old hole in the wall, like, rotted, or, missing, the whole bathroom is messed up, things like that, then of course it's going to add up. But majority of the time, functioning property, fumigation, yes, Tammy. So, fumigation is the biggest thing. It's about, $1,800 to $2,500. So if that happens, it still fall below the 5,000 threshold, right? So if it fall below the 5,000 threshold, will you still see that that's an as-is purchase or as-is offer? I still see it is, because why? The sellers don't need to pay for that fumigation. The buyer is willing to pay for that fumigation, of course with other items up to $5,000. but the biggest item is still fumigation. So what that mean? That means you still got a very solid as-is offer, but with a cap to protect your client, just in case it comes back with, oh, they have to replace the whole roof or whatever, you know what I mean? So you're protecting your client's happy, and not only that, the listing agent looks like they're happy because you put a cap that's high enough that looks like, it's gonna be an as-is purchase, okay? So I hope that I answered that, but other than that, Tammy, you email me your offer. Okay, so Tammy say good. Termite section 1 item for my cash offer is only $3,100 estimate cost. So again, this is something that you need to talk to the client, talk to the listing agent, and then kind of to call and talk. Again, everybody, all listing agents is different. Everybody who've been doing this a long time, they're very good as far as negotiating is concerned, because we don't want to be drawing a hard line for our client for over $3,000, right? Because remember, we might have a client that's looking for a property, and what if that agent is the same attitude as you, right? You don't want that either, right? So keep in mind that we are in the same business. We want to help each other. At the end of the day, I help you, you help me. We get our client happy, our seller, our buyers. That's our job, okay? We're not here to show that we're better than you because, we know the laws or regulation more than you. No, everybody knows the rules and regulation. That's why we're licensed. That's why we're an expert in what we do. But you know what? Just, be cordial with everybody and be a good agent, okay? Communicate with each other and don't try to think that you're better than others, okay? Because remember, you will have to represent one of your client one day, and you will find and hit that person who's gonna act the same way you do. So just keep in mind, act the way you want to be treated, so that way, that way everything runs smoothly. Okay, guys? Again, thank you everybody for joining me this Saturday. If you did not hit the subscribe button, subscribe to us. We're gonna do a lot more videos, in the mortgage related, and we will continue to do this. I'll see you guys next Tuesday, Thursday at 12, and then Saturday at 9. Other than that, you guys have a blessed week. Be safe out there. Again, just remind everybody, our curfew starts today at 10 p.m. And it goes all the way to 5 a.m. And I think that's going to be until December 21st. So be safe, keep everybody safe, and have a blessed week. And you guys have a good one, okay? Other than that, I'll see you guys next Tuesday.